Let's talk about the Kendrick Lamar Halftime Show. Hi, I'm Rochelle Fry. I'm a licensed professional counselor, and I'm coming on today to talk about the YT response that I've seen to the Kendrick Lamar Halftime Show. Now, to start off, I am not qualified to speak on African American culture or music. I don't know a lot about Kendrick Lamar. What I know about him mostly comes through dealing with my clients and hearing them talk about how much of an influence he's had over their lives and how much thought and effort he puts into making meaningful messages in his music. And his music has been extremely influential on a lot of people. That's what I know about him. So I don't feel one way or another about him. I think he's a good artist. And I did watch the halftime show. But what I am more interested in as a human behavior analyst and a licensed professional counselor is the whole crap storm of YT response that I've seen to his performance. Not just him, but also John Batiste. I am also uniquely qualified to talk about this because, unfortunately, I grew up in a racist YT family. So I understand how they think, I understand how they move, I understand how they talk because I'm steeped in it. I grew up in it. So from that perspective, I'm very qualified to understand this behavior. Professionally qualified and personally qualified. So what I seen when I scroll through and look in the morning, the response to the halftime show is a lot of just hateful responses, all coming from YT folk. And the biggest piece that sticks out to me, looking at the behavioral response piece, is that most of these responses, there's a section of them that's overtly racist, but most of these responses are very covert, which leads me to believe that there's a nuanced sector of categories within these responses. I believe most of these there's a few people that honestly didn't like the show, but the vast majority of these people are just racist. And within that category, there's some people who lack awareness about their internalized, racism, that they're, saying these things without a lot of awareness about how their words and actions are connected to racism. And there are another sector of people who are completely aware that they're saying things to marginalize and silence the message that was in the music. So what I want to focus in on, despite, the variance of types of people who responded, is that largely the biggest glaring thing is that this is what's called a disproportionate response. A disproportionate response. So as a counselor, as a therapist, when I'm talking to people, when I'm in sessions with people, when I'm analyzing people, when I'm talking to someone and I can recognize that their response to something is disproportionate to the situation that happened, I understand as a therapist clinically that there is some sort of pathology there. There is some sort of a thought process there that's related to the event that is not about the event. It's about more than just the event. So when you see this massive disproportionate response from the YT people commenting on Kendrick Lamar's performance, a lot of what this is just racism. And you can tell by the disproportionate response that it's related to a pathology. If these people truly didn't really like the performance, or if they just didn't give a flip about it, they wouldn't say anything at all. They wouldn't be talking about it. The reason they're talking about it is because either overtly or covertly, they want to silence his message. They want to marginalize his message. They want to stuff it in the ground. They want to stick their head in the sand like an ostrich. They want to avoid it. One of the key things that you see with this type of pathology is that it's rooted in avoidance. They want to avoid the message he's saying. They want to avoid the culture. They want to avoid the changes that are happening. They want to avoid everything about the message. And so what you'll see, instead of them coming out and being honest about this, because some of them aren't even being honest with themselves about it. What you'll see and what I see when I look at the responses, and I've seen this this is the same old playbook. I've seen it many times before. What they'll say is things like, I didn't understand anything he was saying. I need an interpreter to understand what he was saying. It looks like he's just making a music video. Or, the most popular one I've seen is, this just isn't my style. I just don't like this. I don't like rap music. I don't like rappers. So these are all just little digs in an attempt to marginalize the message, rooted in racism. And I just want to say, wow, this is a big, let's make space and just acknowledge how disproportionate this response is and how inappropriate it is to the actions that took place yesterday. And if you are YT and you are listening, I also want to say to you, this is the time when you have a response like this, that you just dislike something so much, you need to go on the internet and talk about how much you dislike it. There's something under there that you need to unpack. Let's dig underneath of your response and your hatred for this performance and think about why. Okay? Why do I hate this performance so much? What is it about this performance that I hate so much? Until you start to question your own process, you're reacting out of your piece of your brain that operates on emotion. We need to start operating out of our front part of our brain that uses logic. Let's use logic and pick apart this thought process that causes you to dislike anything that has to do with Black culture. Let's dig underneath of there and figure out, why is this happening in your brain? What messages have you heard that got you to the point where you want to avoid and reject anything that has to do with hip hop or African American culture? That's something you need to think about. That's something you need to process. That's something that you will have to allow yourself to become uncomfortable and start thinking about, instead of just avoiding. Let's stop avoiding it and start thinking about why we have these big feelings and these big urges that make us want to go on the internet and silence people that are different than us.